HIPcast is brought to you by Enterprise Social Record. Today's episode is brought to you by Solarity. 80% of healthcare data is underutilized. Solarity is changing that. Their intelligent automation engine quickly and accurately identifies and analyzes all patient data, no matter its source or format. The result? Faster, more informed clinical decisions for physicians and better outcomes for patients. Solarity continues to revolutionize healthcare delivery, mitigate costs, and improve patient outcomes. Identify, validate, and abstract data from any source with Solarity. Visit them at solarityhealth.com to learn more.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to HIPcast. Today, we're going to talk about things a little differently. We're not necessarily talking about any operational challenges or technology that's happening in the field. We are going to talk about what happens before we get into the field and how we find ourselves in a place of having really high quality educational programs. And so today we're going to welcome Karen and Amanda to the show. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're so glad that you're here. They are both representing CHDA today, and many of the listeners know Dr. Angela Kennedy. We've had Angela on before, talking with us about our profession, and so we're thrilled. I'm going to read your bios in just a moment, but really what we're going to learn about today is we're going to talk about the accreditation process, and we're going to talk about competency-based learning, and kind of what the right now the today scene is on how we measure ourselves in when we finish an academic program, and then maybe some of the things that are looking into the future for innovation. I have found over the last several years, but especially over the last couple of years, CHDA has gotten so innovative in how they're leading in this space. And it's pretty exciting. You all have some exciting things going on. So I'm going to read your bios and introduce you. Actually, I should probably put these on. I can see better. Okay, there we go. Amanda Stefan is a Master of Health Informatics, RHIA, and a Fellow of the American College of Health Data Management. Amanda is currently a Quality Analyst for the Commission on Accreditation for Health Informatics and Information Management, we call CHDA. Amanda joined the CHDA team in April of 2018. As the HIM Quality Analyst for CHDA, she manages the accreditation site visit process and conducts site visits as the CHDA staff liaison for health information management programs across the country. Amanda served as a CHDA staff liaison for the Health Information Management Council to support the development of education and resources for all HIM faculty. Amanda received her Bachelor of Science in Health Informatics and Information Management, as well as a Master of Health Informatics from Louisiana Tech University, La Tech. Amanda earned her RHIA credential in 2015. In 2025, Amanda was accepted as a fellow for the American College of Health Data Management. And in 2017, Amanda received the Arizona Health Information Management Association Rising Star Award for her work at Banner Health in Tucson. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right. Dr. Karen, you may have to, I'm going to say Dr. Karen Lankisch.
That's
Is that right? I got it right.
Yeah,
I'm really not good with those words. Okay, Dr. Karen Lankisch. She's an RHIA, CHDA, CPC, certified EHR specialist, CPPM. And Karen has been working in higher education for over 25 years. She has over 10 years of experience working in a variety of healthcare settings. She has a PhD in education, a master's in health informatics, and a master's in education, as well as a Bachelor of Science in business and a post-bachelor's certificate in health information management. Wow. Karen holds credentials as an RHIA, CHDA, CPC, and CEHRS. Karen currently serves as the Health Information System Technology and Health Information Management Program Director at the University of Cincinnati. Karen is a Quality Matters Master Peer Reviewer and an APP QMR face-to-face and outline workshop facilitator. Karen has received several university awards for the use of technology and mentoring. She's a University of Cincinnati Academy of Fellows of Teaching and Learning member. Karen has co-authored 2 textbooks. Her education research interests are emerging technology, online course design, and constructive approaches to adult education. In healthcare, her areas of interest are health IT and healthcare data analytics. Karen, I feel like I just got a little on me and I got smarter just reading your bio.
Well, although you said KHIM's doing a lot of innovative work, it's people like Karen who are self-supporting that work.
That's amazing. That is amazing. So I a million things, but I bet your work right now is super fun with the opportunities, the way we engage now, the opportunities for online learning and the different tools that you could use for that. I bet you're going to do some amazing things. I can't wait to hear about some of those.
It is interesting, Shannon. When I started online about 15, 20 years ago, my first online class, it was like a chat room. And now we've evolved to having this end time where we get to meet face-to-face with our students and integrate through various tools. So it's really a great opportunity.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
If you ever need a resource, Karen probably has one. She's fantastic.
She's not the resource. She can point us to one, can't she?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's right. Well, I think it'll be an interesting conversation for a lot of our young professionals and students that listen to our podcast, maybe even some of us old professionals, to learn about how the accreditation process works and why we can put faith and trust into our schools and our universities that are teaching in our domain. So I'll start with the first question of accreditation standards are constantly evolving. How are health information management professionals and by extension educational programs effectively staying ahead of the curve to ensure they're not just meeting but exceeding the latest requirements? And specifically, what strategies are being used to translate those evolving standards into practical real-world skills with the curriculum?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Karen, I'll kick it off and then you can kind of talk about what you're doing at in your programs. But so at KHIM, what we've recently launched is the KHIM Future Education Model, or the FEM, or the FEM. You might have heard it. You'll hear it called a bunch of different things, but that's all the same thing. And in this Future Education Model, we've made the switch for all of our accredited programs to move to a hybrid-based, competency-based education model. And this is really a focus on competence and not performance. So we want our students to be competent in specific competencies or performance indicators that we have here at KHIM prior to graduation. And then as they go into the workforce, they can prove that they're competent in specific tasks or job functions or whatever those might be. So this is really ensuring that they're demonstrating their skills and not just they can read a textbook and answer a test, right? So a big shift in this here at KHIM is moving to that hybrid competency-based education model. And I say hybrid because true competency-based education model, you guys might be familiar with like a Western governor's model where the students have to prove competence before they can move on to the next course or the next competency. And hybrid here at KHIM means that they can still pass the class with not proving competence, right? But our faculty are now tracking how students are proving competence. When they're not, what are they doing to mediate that, to encourage other ways to prove competence? And they can still pass the class and graduate, but they just haven't identified that they're competent in a specific area. So that's why I say hybrid. We didn't require all of our accredited programs to shift to a full CBE-based education model. We just want to make sure that they're tracking competence, that students are aware that they're tracking their competence, and that they know what they're being assessed in to be competent as well. So that's why I kind of preface it with saying hybrid there. So that's really what we're doing at KHIM. A few years ago, Angela and I, we call it the road show. We went and met with employers all across the country. And one thing that we heard was students know things, but they can't do it. And and practitioners were telling us, like, we're hiring students and they're great, but we still have to train them 6 months to a year after we fill these entry level roles. So our big shift at KHIM was like, okay, we're going to shift to a competency-based education model so that our programs are assessing competence, right? And then they can use those competencies and performance indicators to assess their students at whatever community they're serving, right? Because we know every program across the country is different. Karen's programs in Cincinnati are going to be very different than a school in rural Texas, right? And where they're getting jobs. So it was finding that middle ground. And with that, we also shifted our assessment model for our programs to go from Bloom's taxonomy to a Miller's pyramid assessment for learning. And that's learning by doing. And can a student do it? Can they show you that they can do it? And do they know it? So that's really where our big focus was for making sure that that our programs are evolving. We all know that HIM and healthcare in general changes in a second, right? So how can we pivot? How can we give the tools to our programs to pivot? And that's really with our performance indicators that we wrote. We wrote them in a sense that they can really be innovative in how they use them, and then also gaining data. And I think Karen's going to talk a little bit about that, how she does it, gaining data of how your students are performing and doing, improving competence through those performance indicators to enhance your program in different ways. So that was our approach at KHIM, because it's, like you guys said, it's constantly evolving, and we needed to make sure our programs could pivot and really be innovative in their teaching to their students.
Sure. Karen, anything to add there?
Sure, I can follow up with that. When we learned about the change to competency-based, we were not a competency-based education program. So we were able to implement this type of curriculum into our typical semester format. It was really the redesign of our activities, where we have multi-layered activities where students are then demonstrating. So it's almost bringing that textbook to life. Some of those strategies and innovative strategies we've integrated into our curriculum have been things such as our students are part of what's called the OHIMA virtual intercollegiate practicum. And so we work with HIM professionals throughout the state of Ohio. We also work with all the other programs, HIM programs throughout the state of Ohio, and students. So there's this collaboration, and all the various domains within HIM were able to have hands-on project, real examples. They're learning from the professionals, and then they're demonstrating their knowledge. Another example that we've integrated into our curriculum is the Ohio Melanoma Reporting Project. So a physician actually approached us about, hey, we don't have enough staff to report melanomas, and melanomas are underreported. So could we collaborate? And so we've created this almost like a lab setting where students are learning Web Plus, they're learning the abstraction, they're working with dermatology offices throughout the state of Ohio, and then reporting it to the Ohio Cancer Registry. And so they're getting that real life experience. And so I think that's really the important change here, is that students are experiencing HIM while they're learning as well. And that's been a big difference.
That's great. OHIMA is one of the strongest component state associations. And with my work with Tennessee, I get to talk with Laura Manson a lot. And I mean, it's just fascinating what Ohio's doing and really leading the country in many ways. So that's pretty great how you're engaging students that way.
Yeah, and we have another group in Texas who's doing something similar with the schools here in Texas. They came to us before we even announced the shift to competency-based, they came to us and said, hey, we really want to collaborate through the pandemic, sharing resources to still give our students some type of really meaningful experience. So, and then that just supported them in this journey once we made this shift, and then opened the door for other states and other schools to really collaborate with each other, which I think is fantastic. We all know that we're going to work with folks from other, accredited programs once we get into practice, and now they're getting to meet each other and know each other and connect and network prior to graduation, which is, I think, fantastic. So yeah, I agree.
Man, that's really strong future building. And I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's a weed eater right outside my door. I
And
apologize.
that's why I had to
Hear
put
it.
myself on mute. My neighbor just decided that today was going to be the day that they hire somebody to come cut their grass. So I
Yeah,
can't hear
sorry
yours,
about
so I
that.
hope you can't hear mine.
Oh,
No,
that's
no
awesome.
worries.
Well, I love this. So first of all, kudos to Ohio for that virtual. I wrote it down. The virtual practicum. That is amazing, and that's definitely leveraging some of those educational tools that I'm sure, Karen, that you have. At least if you didn't create it, you've certainly informed it. That is amazing, and I love the end where you said you're already building relationships with new professionals from across the state because you're all in this same practicum. So now I have a contact that goes to work at this organization or that organization. That's amazing. That is,
Mhm.
I mean, that's really incredible. I love that model. So, but I wanted to talk a little bit about, Amanda, what you were saying earlier about the performance and the competency based. So as I was listening to you talk, what I heard was, you know, if students know things, but they can't do things, right?
Mhm.
And so, like, I love the idea of measuring on doing, not just regurgitating what you learn on the test. We honestly, everyone should be doing it this way instead of the way we've historically done it, because I could take a test and forget, 80% of it, right?
Yep.
But if I'm doing it, I'm not
That
going to
describes
forget
my
it.
academic career.
Yes. Most of us. But here's the interesting thing. As you were talking, it became very clear to me that because of electronic medical records and because of patient generated health data and all the places that we get health information from, the market has a need that is so different than what we were traditionally turning out of our HIM programs, right? It has to be broader, where we were training everyone how to manage all the data within that manila envelope that was
Mhm.
terminal digitally filed in that cabinet. Now we have all this vast information, and you have to understand the life cycle of that data no matter where it comes from. So you have to respond in this competency based way. So I'm wondering if you could share some examples about a feedback loop and how you benefit the students and the educators to prepare them for an employer saying, now the students can do.
Right. So we're in the process of collecting that data, and we're going to be doing some publishing with. We've had a ton of response. We've been doing this with demonstration programs. So we just rolled this out last year for our programs to start making the shifts. And with that, we asked programs if they would be early adopters and if they would go through the whole accreditation process with our brand new standards, our brand new competence assessment statements and performance indicators, and be the first, right, to implement this stuff. So we're in the process of doing our first round of site visits right now for our programs. So Karen can talk a little bit probably about more specifics, but what I've heard so far from our programs doing these site visits, because they just started in March and it'll go through the rest of the year, is that it was easy to make the adjustments. They were doing a lot of the things. They were teaching the content. They were addressing it in certain ways. But the assessment piece from Bloom's to Miller's is what they really had to focus on. And then kind of training their brains as to, okay, this is how I used to write an assessment, or this is how I used to write a test question or a case study. So now I got to switch my brain to think, okay, what am I assessing when the student gives it to me? Right? Are they really analyzing data? Are they really producing something? Are they really creating a policy? Are they presenting it? So it's more about not how the assessment is written and more about what the student is producing on the back end. And that's where that assessment piece shifts, right? And then a big piece of this is reflection. So we've encouraged our programs, and now students have to reflect on a lot of their authentic assignments and case studies that they do. And that reflection piece is what connects the dots for the students as to, now I get it, right? Like the light bulb goes off. You can send me an Excel data sheet all day long, and I can make pivot tables and charts and all that stuff, but why, right? Like, why am I doing this? What is it? How can I connect it to real life experience? So that reflection piece on the back end of these learning by doing and authentic assignments that these students are now producing for our programs, that reflection is actually huge. I actually was on a site visit a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, last week, I can't remember anymore. And the students, we didn't even prompt them to say this or answer about reflection. They said that we love the reflections that we're doing. It's a big, aha moment for us. And it really allows us to connect the dots. And they told us that in the site visit. And I didn't even ask them. So it was nice to hear students regurgitate what their faculty were saying and what they're doing with competency-based education and reflections and proving that they're competent in certain areas. So I think that's what's going to be really successful for our students and our programs, is getting that feedback. And that's the kind of the data that we're going to be collecting with our demonstration programs as they go through the full accreditation process. So Karen can talk a little bit about what she's seen personally, if you want, Karen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I can jump in here and talk about our approach and how we decided we were going to track our students and the rationale for tracking that. And so what we did is we used our learning management system. We developed rubrics for assessing the student, but then we added the outcome to the rubric. And what we did is that we would then use that data, and we have built dashboards within our LMS system. So we're using Power BI, and I'm working with our IT and our instructional design team, and we're creating these dashboards for the student to track their own competency so they can access their individualized dashboard, see how they're doing and what they're achieving, maybe areas that they need to improve on, as well as our faculty. So I have all the aggregate data. I can see how we're doing it by course. I can also see how we're doing it by the performance indicator and the competency. So what I do is I look at, this one we're not doing so well. I see students are struggling. So that gives me insight into how I can go in and either add more resources. I can provide some more formative assessment and learning activities to help prepare that student for achieving that competency. Or maybe I need to revise the whole activity that I've designed. Maybe it's not good or I'm missing something. So I think that's really how we're using this as a closing that feedback loop, and also looking at how we can support students in achieving the performance indicators and the competencies.
Well, giving them the access to the data is critical to where they can see their pathway, but it also gives them experience in tools like Power BI that I use every day with the day job. I'm constantly in Power BI looking at data across those things. Makes me think that maybe the upperclassmen can be the ones that put the data into the dashboard for the younger classmen. That way they get the experience of building those dashboards. But that was just random thought that flew through the brain.
Idea.
But that's fantastic. One of the things that you mentioned of moving to this competency-based piece reminds me of my wife. She's an ER nurse, and she always says their methodology is see one, do one, teach one. That's the simple way of how they train. And I always thought that's so easy to remember, but it's also very powerful that a lot of times we just show people, here's what it looks like, and then we move on. But to be able to do it and then to teach it is a critical aspect of really putting that in the brain and ingraining whatever that education is there. But beyond measuring student skills, how are HIM programs leveraging outcomes and performance indicators to enhance student retention? And are there specific strategies being implemented to identify and address areas where students may be struggling? And how might that data be used to create a more supportive and effective learning environment?
You want to go first, Karen?
Sure, I can. Yes. So
one thing at you. I'm sorry. This is about student retention, but also maybe align it with recruitment as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for us, and again, we're just one program of the many programs that have been implementing the competency-based model. But one of the things that we do is that we're looking at ways to really connect with the student. And so it actually starts in the recruitment process. So we have a team that we call a student success coordinator. They meet with that student before they even start our program, and they develop that relationship. Then we have embedded academic advisors, and we also have a student orientation that they must complete prior to starting our program so that they are very well aware of the expectations for our program. Then throughout our program, our student success coordinator contacts that student mid-semester and also at the end of the semester, as well as the academic advisor then meets with the student before the next registration period. In the meantime, we have what are called retention meetings, where it's a collaboration across the university or across our program with the student success coordinators. We also meet with the academic advisors and all the faculty. So we're in these meetings and we meet every other week and we talk about every course. If there's any issues, we talk about students that may have challenges. And because we're fully online, we have built a lot of resources that we can provide to our students. And maybe we have a student that their computer broke. We have an emergency fund where we can provide that student funding to either fix their computer or to provide them with a new computer. So there are a lot of things so they may be struggling in the class, but it may be other things that are impacting that struggle that are not academic. So really getting to know that student is very important. We have a large enrollment. So with that, it takes a lot of us involved in the student. And I think that that's really important. And it impacts our retention because we typically in our classes will identify that high stakes activity. And if we see someone that's not meeting the competency, we immediately go into providing them additional resources, sending them to our learning commons. What can we do to help support you in achieving that assessment to the appropriate level and
It shows you
competence?
care. You have a passion for the students. You want them to be successful, and I think that's a very powerful thing for prospective students to understand, and even current students to know that they've got a team behind them that wants them to succeed in the program and beyond.
And that's a great point. And it allows students, they want it once they graduate and they get that dream job, right? They want to give back to the program. And that to me is a huge piece to this puzzle too, is because our programs need that authentic material, right? They need those case studies. They need those real life experiences. All of us could sit here and write a book on the things that we've seen working in practice, right? That you can never learn in a classroom. So that's the type of, that's not covered in a textbook. Managing people, like, top the list, right? So all of those things, all of those experiences give back to our program so that they can map it to a performance indicator, assess students on it, test their knowledge, make sure they're ready for those certain situations. And that's why at CAHIM in our standards as well, we require an advisory board. And that advisory board is really helpful to our programs. They rely on them heavily. If you're listening to this and you're not in an advisory board, find your closest accredited program, or maybe your alma mater, and go and say, I want to sit on your advisory board and help and provide insight into your curriculum and your assessments of students, because that right there, the way that Karen takes care of her students, and programs all across the country do, allows students to be successful. You change their life, and then they want to give back to that program and the profession. So it, like we said earlier, that full closed circle, right? Like all the way back around. It starts with what Karen just mentioned.
Yeah, I'm curious, Karen, these demonstration projects that you're doing currently, I would imagine that because of the nature of this feedback loop, you probably have a higher hands-on or touch point with the students even than you did before, even though it seems pretty intense before. Has this increased your touch points and their receptiveness, I suppose, to the new way of learning?
It really has. It's students have provided, so we're young into this, we're
Yeah.
continuing to evolve. And that's the other thing that I think is really interesting is that students are providing us feedback. Oh, they really like this. Like Amanda was talking about reflections and how much students really do appreciate reflecting on their learning. And so one of the things that the competencies and performance indicators have provided us is that there's opportunity to make changes as the health information profession grows and continues to
Yeah.
change. We have latitude to implement new strategies, new activities. And it also, one of the interesting things about this competency based and performance indicator and having students meet a certain level of competence is we've also integrated in advocacy. And this has been really an opening opportunity for our program to collaborate with other allied health programs or other programs like our information technology program, because we're able to tell these other programs, this is what HIM does. And we can help you in other ways where other programs within my college have no idea what HIM is. And so it brings that opportunity for interprofessionalism and for advocacy of HIM and bringing us to the table so that we have a place at the table and to be able to discuss what HIM can do. And so that's where our students have provided us feedback that they really appreciate this change. And we have, like what you were saying, Shannan, it's really high touch. We have really great relationships with our students. And so it's been a really positive change in how we're teaching.
I love that. I love that you're doing the cross-functional, connecting the health information management professionals students with the IT students, because they're going to each have to know how to talk to one another when they're in the real world, right? So I don't now as a CEO of a company and I get an HIM student from your schools and also an IT student, I could say to those two young new folks in the profession, hey, I need you guys to go work on X. And there's a IT side, a functional side and a content side, and they know how to do that because of this type of cross-functional advocacy, and they know how to have those conversations. That's incredible. I mean, and also one thing that, as you were talking, and Amanda, this goes back to what you were saying, one thing that is really standing out to me here is that this competency-based method that you're leveraging now, it really gives the programs the flexibility needed to be agile to change with the market, which is something we have never had.
Right.
And I don't mean HIM. I just mean in general, education has not had that kind of flexibility. You couldn't be agile. It takes years to change curriculum, where if it's competency based in this manner, whatever the new thing is today, if it's taking over the market, as long as my competency can be met, I can introduce that new stuff without being in that rigid. I felt like the taxonomy was pretty rigid and you couldn't change much, right? You didn't have a lot of flexibility.
I mean, I can't speak to that because I didn't write them, and I didn't write assessments in that. But what we focused on when we were writing these performance indicators is we were writing them in a way that, like, for example, Karen can use them with all of her melanoma, data analytics and things that she's doing for the state. But then somebody who is in rural Arkansas can use them for, HIM operations because they're the operations director and privacy officer all in one, right? Or if this programs are serving more of a data analytics population, like here in the state of Texas, I know that one program is heavy on data analytics, and they're filling those IT data analytics roles in hospitals for major health systems here. So students are being prepared and still being competent and proving competence in whatever role and community that they're serving, right? Because we know HIM, you can fall into all different types of job roles that you are 100% qualified to do, or like Karen was saying, interprofessional collaboration with other healthcare professions in a health system or a doctor's office or wherever that might be. So they were written in a way that programs can use them how they need to use them, and that their students can go out, get jobs, be successful in whatever credentialing exams they want to sit for, right? And whatever that might be across the country and that they're serving. But then also they can be used for practitioners in their job descriptions and their staff evaluation methods, right? There's a bunch of different ways that you can use these performance indicators so that practice is connecting with education and education is connecting with practice, because we always want to make sure that our graduates from KM accredited programs serve the need of the community that they're going into, right? So I think that that's the beauty of it. I know a lot of programs before, they did great things. They, did a lot of this stuff, but now they're just enhancing it, and we're allowing them that flexibility and innovation to do so in the way that we evaluate our programs and our standards.
Yeah, I think that's really what I was meaning to say, is that before, the programs didn't have the flexibility or the agility to make those changes, where now they can really, not necessarily on the fly, but quickly, much more efficiently make changes to the curriculum they're delivering. And Karen mentioned having information. She's got access to how the programs are doing. And if she needs to change some component of that particular subject or that exercise, she can, or she needs to redesign the whole thing. That's agility that our market today requires. We really need to be doing that. Well, as we wrap up, thank you both. This has been so incredible, and it's exciting for the future of our profession, in my opinion. But as we get ready to close, I wonder, we all of this is innovative discussion, but are there any other, and Karen, we'll start with you, and then Amanda, if you want to add anything. I'm curious from your program side, Karen, and then from the KM or any component that you see, Amanda, are there any innovations that you're thinking, don't share any IP, don't give away your secrets, but is there any innovation that you're looking at or that you're currently employing that we haven't talked about today that kind of takes us even further?
Sure. So I'll mention a couple of things that we're doing and we've started, haven't fully fleshed everything out yet. But from an education standpoint, we deal with a lot of students that maybe don't have the confidence to start an associate degree program or a bachelor's degree program, but they could start with 2 courses or 3 courses. They can earn a micro-credential. So we're embedding micro-credentials within our curriculum. And then they feel that success, and then they are able to come in to the associate degree, and they're confident and they know they can achieve it. We work with a lot of post-traditional learners or students that maybe are first-generation learners, and giving them that little taste of success really changes their outlook on a profession. Also, we're implementing some badging system on once they achieve specific competencies, they earn a badge, and that's very important. They can put it on their LinkedIn site. And so that's very helpful. So those are a couple things that I didn't mention that I think are innovative and will help move my program further as we continue to grow in this area.
That's awesome.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Karen.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. From your perspective, it's great. That is what I'm seeing other programs do as well, as stackable certificates, stackable micro-credentials, so that as students progress through their program, they're getting something, right? If they're currently working, maybe they take Karen's, privacy course and another course, and then they can enhance, their resume, or maybe they want to go into privacy and now they have that little extra certificate, that might set them apart from a different candidate. So that's the stacking and the on and off ramps for programs or students and graduates is is going to be really beneficial. And these performance indicators really align well with that, because you can really see some of the tools that we've created. You can really see where you're heavy, or you can see where you're, you might just be meeting the floor, right? But maybe you need to enhance it a little bit to get another certificate or badge or micro credential in there. And those can all be for credit or not, right? Programs can be innovative in how they offer this and partner with practitioners and health systems in the area too, to maybe get their employees in to sit for these certificates or badges. So I think that Karen nailed it out of the park when, for your question, Shannan, is that's going to be a huge recruitment tool to keep bringing folks into the HIM profession, and then also giving them those little successes and wins along the way through the program. And then before they know it, they have, like Karen said, they have an associate degree and they're on to their bachelor's, and then they're on to their master's, right? It's those little wins and success that they can see, immediately, which is
the elephant one bite at a time.
Yes, which we know is everybody loves, that instant gratification. I mean, our cell phones change every 30 seconds, right? When you're scrolling, right? So having those little wins along the way, it's how folks' brains are wired these days, right? So, it's going to be great.
That's incredible. Congratulations, both of you. Great work. And thank you for your commitment to making our profession just consistently better, right? And just keeping up, making the changes, being flexible, being agile, being innovative. And thanks also, Karen, for the high point touches with your students. That's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah. Good stuff.
It's been a great conversation. Thank you for sharing this. And Shannan, until next time, my friend.
See you next time, buddy.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for having us.
Bye.